We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
With Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and I'm just asking questions. And the question of the day is, when and how much declassification are we getting from this administration? Now, I want to start off by saying I'm real happy with the last 48 hours, right? We're into day 3 now, but Ross Ulbricht, 3 hours after I did that video, and remember yesterday I was kind of thinking it could even happen while we were doing the broadcast, right? And then it happens. Ross Ulbricht is free. That's real. The January 6ers are free. I saw Stuart Rhodes today talking about how he's still stripped of so many of his benefits, etc., as a veteran. Hopefully those type of things also get rectified. But he's out of jail. Jail's a real place. These are real people. So now the next big promise that Donnie T has to deliver on is the one he spoke about right here just a couple days ago, post-inauguration. And this is, I want this to be real. Trump vows to declassify documents related to JFK, MLK, and other assassinations and areas of interest. But let's hear him say it right now. Let's see what we got over here, a little dicka-dicka-doo.
As a first step toward restoring transparency and accountability to government, we will also reverse the overclassification of government documents, and in the coming days, we are going to make public remaining records relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, his brother Robert Kennedy, as well as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and other topics of great public interest. It's all going to be released, Uncle Sam. And I will direct our military to begin construction of the Great Iron Dome missile defense shield, which will all be made in the USA.
Now, first of all, I think we've got better than an Iron Dome. I think we already have the space weapons. In fact, I got to get Brandon Weichert on the program to talk about the realities of where our weapon systems and weapon systems in general are. Again, we've sat here, we've talked about drone technology, we've talked about SpaceX, the Stargate stuff, the Moderna stuff, all concerning, folks. All concerning. But the reason you got to start with mass declassification, and I would argue, oh great, I'm very happy you're talking about assassinations. Let's stop lying to the public about Operation Paperclip. let's get as much of the technology and experimentation that happened in the 50s, 60s, and 70s that's still classified out into the public, period, so that we can make better decisions on what's going on right now. I think that's a huge blind spot for him. But the real reason that you need the mass declassification on the assassinations, for instance, so let's start there, is that you have to show how corrupt these agencies have been for decades. The FBI, the CIA, we have to show how cutout groups worked. We have to show the corruption and the partnership with academia, with the media, with big corporations, with contractors. All that needs to be exposed so we can change that system. I don't know how much is coming out. That's the big question. We're really asking this question. The more, the merrier. I mean, don't get me wrong. Pinch me if we actually get the meat of the JFK files. If I see that in the next week, and like all of a sudden the headlines are naming names and agencies and connections like they never did before, that's a big deal. That's a huge cultural moment. It's a moment where so many people have waited on just that one instance, okay? But let's talk about the other ones. Because when you're talking about JFK, that in itself, in many regards, seems a little bit different from his brother in the sense with RFK Jr., you have a heavy layer of mind control MK Ultra. You have a heavy layer of that via the polka dotted lady, via Sirhan, etc. Now, I will say on the peripheral of Oswald, there is that disputed document that I've covered many times that talks about Oswald being trained by the Office of Naval Intelligence for the Central Intelligence Agency. It's between John McCone, the head of the CIA, and the head of the Secret Service, right? That's the Warren C. DeBrew document that really led me to find out his significance in all of this, right? And that document states that while Oswald was over there, and whether it's a cover story or why it's being put in there, may have been part of a Russian mind control program. And by the way, I would assume that obviously the Russians were doing much of this experimentation as well. Okay? So those are just the Kennedy assassinations. There's a lot there. As I said, it integrates into mind control. We've talked about MK Ultra. We've talked about Artichoke. We've talked about Bluebird. If we're being honest, I would expect at least a dozen other programs that we have no idea about or sub-programs, right, within that arena before the 80s. And remember, 1980 is 45 years ago. 45 years ago. So really, bar none, we should be a blanket declassification other than maybe names of operatives so they can be spared, but they certainly should be interrogated. If anybody's still around, they shouldn't be working these things, right? Like, declassify it all up to 85. We should know the corruption we're working with. You want to make, I had this debate with Zach Payne today. It'll be airing tomorrow on Patriot TV. Regarding the idea of Trump also signing this executive order naming the cartels as terrorist organizations. Well, I want Guantanamo Bay closed. Obviously, forget about 1985. 9/11 as an event. You said it on TV, Trump. I haven't held my breath. I haven't held you to account on that. But that's a big deal. That's now 20 years ago. Plus. But a lot of those networks were built in the 70s and 80s. I've documented that. Right? So we're in an interesting spot. The Kennedy assassinations do integrate with the mind control stuff. when you're getting into the CIA and drug running and cartels, all right, the cartels are terrorist organizations now. You know, Escobar, his kid says he was CIA. If you don't know about Barry and the boys, Barry Seal, I mean, they made American Made. That actually whitewashed a lot of it. It's a big whitewashing. Okay? It looks like Seal and the operatives go back to the Kennedy days. And that, you know what, that'll be really interesting if there are certain documents that now do get declassified and come out naming Barry Seal in the involvement or on the peripheral of the Kennedy assassinations. So let's put those aside for a minute. Let's talk about Malcolm X. Let's talk about MLK Jr. With Malcolm X, you know, they've talked about, you know, the Nation of Islam involved in there. There's civil rights. There's culture here. I know there are a lot of people that are skeptical of all these figures in some regard, whether it's I Have a Dream or, you know, Malcolm X, etc. You're going to find agitators. You're going to find absolute agent government, maybe from the highest levels, involvement in that too. Period. And those are the assassinations of the 60s. There's so much more. Now, the next question is, and here's the deal. Trump is militarily pragmatic. Give him that. I think he's overall peace, and I think he's pragmatic. So at the end of the day, when we're talking about technologies that are still being suppressed from the public, I think there's going to be a massive amount of classification surrounding that, no matter what. But once you show that these agencies are so corrupt and that power corrupts and that they've been shielded, look, Trump took away security clearances of Michael Hayden and others right away. Bang on. Perfect. Needed to be done. But really, to do it to it, you have to show how criminal and corrupt they have been for so long. And there has to be some type of criminal accountability for some of these people. You know, I mean, I understand there are going to have to be exceptions out there, you know, but if the crimes are, and as I've spoken about, the dismantling of many of these organizations. The idea of born classified has to go away. The idea of an executive within an executive with these black projects and sites has to go away. It has to go away because that's the military industrial complex that Eisenhower warned about. The scientific elite with their business partners. Literally trying to create a breakaway civilization for themselves as authoritarians. And there's a lot to be concerned about. Stargate's a big concern. AI is a big concern. The tech bro influence that's becoming more and more overt as people come into the fold, that's a concern. But you didn't think like the globalist agenda was just going to halt, did you? You didn't think the people pushing for a quote-unquote new world order or transhumanism were going to stop, did you? I didn't think that. I think that there is no absolute power. There are constant battles within this power structure, right? And I can only hope that part of that constant battle on the good end is to at least expose so much of the corruption and evil that's happened in the past that we can at least have a fighting chance to build a new human system that combats with the overt transhumanist AI-driven one. And I'm not a Luddite, and I'm not anti-technology at all, but I am extremely concerned with the future in an already post-truth world where there are so many things for decades upon decades upon decades that we don't know the truth about. For instance, when I sat there and I talked to Joel Pollack, the editor over at Breitbart, about this very thing about declassification, he tried to throw it to like moon landings and this and that. And I'm like, well, the moon landings aside, the Apollo missions aside, I don't expect them to declassify their weapon systems in space. And that's really the stuff that interests me. But like when you're talking about these assassinations, they matter. When you're talking about 9/11, it matters. To act like it's Muslim terrorists that hated us for our freedoms with box cutters is laughable when you look at just the baseline forensic evidence. Okay? I'm not holding my breath on any Epstein lists because guess what? There is no client list for Epstein. I've said it again and again and again. I'd be shocked if we got a bunch of Epstein documents that we haven't seen. Especially, you got to understand, Trump's got a close relationship to Alan Dershowitz. Literally just got the text that tomorrow's interview, first half of the show is going to be Dr. Simone Gold and John Rich, because they have this Gold Care thing coming in. So we're going to talk about that. But then the second one wrote a authorized autobiography on Alan Dershowitz. And for those that don't know, Alan Dershowitz walked off the show. Making sense of the madness with my first couple of lines. I think I got a sentence out. You didn't even see him. I had to post the video of the behind the scenes capture so you could watch him just freeze and leave. So that should be an interesting one. There are certain aspects of freedom of speech and his defense of Trump that I absolutely agree with, but I would have never used him in the impeachment hearings that were garbage. Anybody could have won that. And Dershowitz clearly aligns with the military-industrial complex when it concerns Israel, really when it concerns surveillance, when it concerns authoritarian mandates, right? So he's a troublesome character, in my opinion, to say the least. And there's a guy that was integral in getting that sweetheart Epstein deal, right? Look, there's always going to be problems. I'm not trying to be holier than thou because Trump is now already in the first 48 hours of this presidency really solidified himself as the best president in my generation. But he was already there, in my opinion. I know there were hangers on Reagan or Jimmy Carter as a person, right? That's kind of a gag, Jimmy Carter as a person. But think about it. Where do you go before him where you can say, awesome? A lot of people aggrandize JFK because he got his head blown off. JFK had his problems, but again, he got his head blown off. And we're going to find out hopefully in short order, and we need to. And Trump's right when it says that's going to start with the healing process. And will I sing his praises for that? Damn straight I will. Damn straight. At the same time, am I going to criticize him for having people like Conor McGregor at the inauguration? Yeah, do better. Do better. We all have to do better. We all have to get beyond our blind spots. We also all have to realize reality. It's not so much that there are gray areas. It's that there's no portrait of reality that is this utopian picture of everything is sunshine, rainbows, unicorns, and lollipops. Just not the way the world works. Folks, it's going to put a wrap on the video for now. I do want to encourage everybody to follow me over on X. See, we couldn't even get, from the last video, I was asking for the 11 followers or 13 by the end. We got 3. Still need 9 more to break to 46.1. And if you want to financially support the broadcast, buy me a coffee, $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. Big donors. Thank you so much. I want to thank all those that have donated. Tiffany, Christine, Durasexon, Castillo. Thank you for being part of the Bermas Brigade. All the documentary films are free. I think we start declassifying stuff surrounding 9/11. Loose Change, Fabled Enemies, they're going to be even more legitimized. And I think they should be more legitimized. Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture. I think that people inside the Trump administration or the cheerleaders, the influencers that do have sway should check those films out so they can rightfully inform Trump of maybe some of those blind spots and what's really going down in Chinatown. You know the drill with me. It is not about left or right, always about right and wrong. Absolutely love you guys, and I will see you on the flip side.